We gently request all the attendees to please kindly complete your registration and proceed to the ballroom for the inaugural session that's going to commence shortly, in the next couple of minutes. Meanwhile, please ensure that your mobile phones are on silent mode or on any mode of inaudibleness. Respected ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for your patient waiting. We will commence the show in the next couple of minutes. I kindly request everybody to please kindly take a seat as we are about to begin the Mystic South Global Linkages Summit 2025. Can you all give a huge round of applause and let's begin with the show. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome and good morning and welcome to the inaugural session of the Mystic South Global Linkages Summit 2025. A thunderous round of applause from all of us today. We are honored to have an esteemed lineup of industry leaders and policymakers with us to set the stage for an insightful 2 days. Before we commence, may I invite our distinguished speakers to please kindly take their seats on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Mukundan, Vice President, CII. Please join me in welcoming Mr. N. Lakshmi Narayanan, co-founder, Cognizant, and Chancellor, Kriya University. Welcome, sir. Dr. R. Nandini, Chairperson, CII, Southern Region. Welcome, madam. Mr. T.T. Ashok, Chairman, CII Mystic South Global Linkages Summit 2025. Welcome, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please once again join me in welcoming Mr. Mukundan, Vice President, CII, to our show today. Welcome, sir. It's a pleasure having you today. And now, may I invite Dr. Nandini to please deliver her opening remarks, please. Welcome, ma'am.
Mr. Mukundan, Vice President CII, Mr. Ashok, Chairman Mystic South 2025, Mr. Lakshmi Narayan, co-founder, Cognizant, and Chancellor, Kriya University, past chairs, past presidents of CII, distinguished delegates, and friends from media. It is my pleasure to welcome you all on this Monday morning to the opening session of Mystic South. For those who may not be familiar, Mystic South is an initiative conceived by Mr. T.T. Ashok, and that began in the year 2019, an initiative of CII Southern Region, with the aim of showcasing the strengths of the South Indian states. We produced a very comprehensive report that was made available to potential investors, the diplomatic community, and the industry at large. In the year 2021, this conference, as you all know, it was during COVID, evolved as a virtual event, replicating a similar program over 2 days. However, I'm privileged to stand here before you in this event, a physical one, and we are happy that we are all gathered here this morning for this good program. Upon taking charge as chairperson, my first assignment was to meet with Mr. T.T. Ashok and request him to chair Mystic South. I asked him to lead this event in Chennai, and I must say, he has created something truly magical, as you would all witness. On behalf of CII Southern Region, I wish to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to Mr. Ashok. He has championed this initiative like no other. His commitment and dedication are truly inspiring, and he has sparked numerous ideas and plans for how we can contribute to the industry and society through CII via the Mystic South initiative. I would also like to extend my thanks to his exceptional team, Prasanna, Tareen, Madhavan, and all the champions of various tracks. You'll have all worked tirelessly for over a year to bring this benchmark program to fruition. And we are truly proud to present over 30 sessions featuring more than 140 speakers over the next 2 days. Again, another round of applause for Mr. Ashok. At this juncture, I would be remiss in not mentioning the tireless efforts of the Regional Director, Mr. Jayesh, and his team. And especially big thanks to Anita, who's part of the Secretariat. So coming back to this conference, the South Indian industries from now until 2047, that is from India at 100, is poised for significant transformation and growth, driven by several factors, including technological advancements, sustainability concerns, evolving global economic dynamics, and geopolitical issues. Automation, AI, and machine learning are expected to revolutionize manufacturing processes, leading to increased efficiency and productivity while giving rise to new age industries. With its robust IT base and requisite skilled workforce, South India is well positioned to capitalize on these advancements. As environmental concerns grow, there will be a pressing need for industries to shift towards sustainable practices across all sectors. We can anticipate a greater adoption of circular economy models, increased investment in renewable energy, and a focus on resource efficiency to minimize our environmental footprint. Making cities livable by continued investments is very important, especially in terms of infrastructure, particularly social infra, transportation, logistics, and digital connectivity will all play very crucial roles to support industrial growth, facilitate seamless movement of people, goods, and services. Some key sectors that will impact the future of South India. The South is expected to emerge as a global manufacturing hub driven by advancements in automation, robotics, and Industry 4.0 technologies. Key sectors such as automotive, aerospace, electronics, and textiles are poised for significant growth. The IT sector will continue to be a major growth driver with a focus on emerging technologies like AI, ML, cloud computing, and cybersecurity. South India's strong talent pool and established ecosystem provides us with a competitive edge. Our South region's rich agricultural resources will propel growth in the food processing sector, emphasizing value addition, sustainable farming practices, and exports. Finally, and most importantly, education and skill development will be transformative for South India, yielding a leap forward in our potential as we strive to scale new heights. So in conclusion, the journey of South Indian industries over the next 2 decades holds immense promise. The outcomes from this conference should be impactful, and we should derive the necessary policy recommendations to submit to the 6 southern state governments, as they will play a very major role in the future of the transformation. I wish all the delegates good takeaways over the next 2 days, and this is truly a world-class event. I hope you all will enjoy, experience, and come back for the next event, which will be held probably in the next year and a half or 2. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so very much, ma'am, for your welcoming words and sharing your thoughts with us. Your remarks were truly enlightening and thought-provoking. Thank you so very much. Let's take a look at the visuals about Mystic South that will set the context for the next 2 days. All eyes on LED wall. Let's play the video. that calls for a pleasant round of applause. And now we have Mr. T.T. Ashok to deliver the theme address.
Thank you very much for being here on behalf of CII Southern Region, our chairperson Nandini, and all of us who've been part of the Governing Council and the champions. A warm welcome to 2047, the Southern Odyssey, powering to a $10 trillion economy by 2047. I'll just digress for a minute or two. When I was a youngster studying in school in Chennai, my life was governed by Arthur C. Clarke and 2001, A Space Odyssey. Till today, I do not know what HAL really signifies if you've read the book. Still bothers me. As a graduate student in the US many years ago, after my assignments were over, I would be sitting in my room working on papers with a glass of vodka. And the late night shows were always the series on Star Trek, and the old ones with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy coming as the key characters. 2047 looked aeons away. We're still not there. As a matter of fact, 2025 looked a distant future. So when we conceived this idea almost 9-10 months ago, we thought we'd look at the future and what we would like to do, because we need to set a glide path for our children. What is the legacy we are leaving for them? And the world is very challenged. But this is not about the challenges and the difficulties. I think this is a journey of hope. That's what we'd like to give from this conference. Nandini expressed some very kind sentiments, and I hope it is repeated tomorrow evening when we have our closing session. Let me start by welcoming Mr. Mukundan, Vice President, CII, and MD and CEO of Tata Chemicals, Dr. Nandini, Chairperson, CII Southern Region, Mr. Lakshmi Narayan, Chancellor, Kriya University, Jayesh, all the distinguished speakers who have come here, all our friends, delegates, members, close friends, family who are here. Thank you all for coming here. Many of you have traveled a long way to be with us. Thank you very much. At Mystic South, the second edition, we are not here just to talk about the future. We are here to shape it. If the first edition of the summit was a new hope, this time our 6 key drivers will embark us on an epic journey towards South India 2047. And in true Star Wars fashion, I say to you, may the future be with you. I can't say it like Yoda, of course. The summit isn't just a gathering. It's a strategic mission to ensure that South India remains a Jedi master in economic growth, technological leadership, and cultural influence. A long time in a galaxy not so far away, South India embarked on an incredible economic journey. Today, we stand at a defining moment where our focus on innovation, industry, and sustainability can transform this region into a $10 trillion economy by 2047. This is no mere ambition. It is an achievable vision that aligns with India's larger goals of becoming a $30 trillion economy by 2047, Viksit Bharat. Mystic South serves as a strategic platform to chart this course, ensuring that South India harnesses its full potential as a global economic powerhouse. South India is already a force to reckon with, contributing to 31% of India's GDP, accounting for 40% of India's FDI inflows. The region's annual exports exceed $150 billion, nearly a quarter of India's merchandise and service exports. Tamil Nadu remains the largest manufacturing hub, holding the largest share of factories in the country, while Telangana and Andhra Pradesh lead in pharma, life sciences, and agriculture. Kerala's inclusive and sustainable development model, Puducherry's emerging tech ecosystem and tremendous tourism potential, and Karnataka's AI and quantum computing leadership position the South as a region ready to drive the next phase of our growth. However, to reach the $10 trillion, we must maintain a growth of 7 to 8% consistently for the next 20 years. Can it be done? Yes, it can. And that is why we have the 6 pillars. We'd like to call it the Cosmic 6. Advanced manufacturing, electronics and semiconductors, ESDM, emerging technologies, sustainability, future mobilism, and tourism and the creative economy. These are the stars which will guide us to a prosperous future in 2047. Our manufacturing capabilities are at an inflection point. Tamil Nadu already contributes 20.4% of South India's manufacturing GDP, while Karnataka, Telangana, and Andhra Pradesh are strengthening their footholds in aerospace, automotive, and pharma sectors. With the global shift towards Industry 4.0, the South is integral to enhance India's advanced manufacturing capabilities, positioned to lead in AI-powered factories, semiconductor production, and robotics-driven automation. The electronic system design and manufacturing, ESDM, is set to be a game changer for South India's economic trajectory, with the region already leading India's 300 billion electronic markets, and this is projected to double by 2026. Tamil Nadu and Karnataka are at the forefront, with Chennai and Bengaluru emerging as semiconductor and battery technology hubs, attracting investments from global giants like Foxconn, Pegatron, Intel, Tatas, and Qualcomm. Tamil Nadu alone accounts for $10.2 billion in electronics exports in 2025, contributing 38% of India's total electronics. Telangana has developed electronics manufacturing clusters focused on EV batteries, energy storage systems, and consumer electronics, supported by its TSI Pass, which has significantly streamlined investment approvals. Karnataka is driving IoT-based battery management systems and semiconductor R&D. Puducherry is fast emerging as a center for advanced GPU-based server manufacturing, while Kerala is focusing on 3D printing application in electronics. With global shift towards semiconductor independence and AI-powered electronics, South India is well positioned to become the Silicon Valley of the East, strengthening India's role in the global technology supply chain. South India's technological progress will be a defining factor in this economic transformation. Bengaluru is home to over 400 Fortune 500 R&D centers and ranks as the 4th largest tech hub cluster in the world. Hyderabad, the Genome Valley of India, is a leader in pharmaceutical innovation, AI in life sciences, and biotech research. Tamil Nadu operates 18 IT SEZs, the highest in the country, and it has a leadership in areas such as SaaS, fintech, and AI-driven services. As quantum computing, AI, and biotech reshape industries globally, South India has the potential to become an absolutely top-class international hub for innovation and creativity. Sustainability is another key pillar of our journey. South India is already a leader in renewable energy, with Tamil Nadu and Karnataka generating over 22 gigawatts of wind and solar energy. Tamil Nadu is the top wind energy producer in the country with over 10 gigawatts of installed capacity, while Karnataka is the leader in solar with about 8.9 gigawatts. Kerala is pioneering green hydrogen technologies, while Andhra Pradesh aims for carbon neutrality in transport by 2047. These efforts not only reduce dependence on fossil fuels, but also create millions of green jobs, supporting inclusive economic growth. The future of mobility will also play a crucial role in South India's economic success. Tamil Nadu manufactures 35% of India's auto components and 46% of the country's electric two-wheelers are made in Tamil Nadu. The state's EV production ecosystem is set to attract $6 billion in investments, strengthening India's position in next-gen mobility, hydrogen-powered fuel, and drone logistics. Karnataka leads the country in terms of infrastructure for EV with over 7,500 EV charging stations. Telangana's Mobility Valley, the first of its kind in India, aims to bring rupees 50,000 crores in investments and 4 lakh jobs by 2028. Andhra Pradesh, through its sustainable transport policy, is targeting 100% electrification of public transport by 2030. Kerala has a rather innovative and hybrid water transport system. The Kochi Water Metro, you take a boat to go from one place to the other, the cleanest form of energy, no fossil fuels, no lithium-ion batteries. It's a trendsetter, I think, in the world. So these are examples which we need to replicate across, certainly in the South, and surely across the nation. My pet subjects. Tourism and the creative economy are vital growth engines too, having significant employment generation potential. Tamil Nadu remains amongst the top states for domestic tourist arrivals, with this sector contributing 12% of its GDP. Kerala's Mission 2030 aims to increase tourism share in GSDP from 12 to 20% by expanding its wellness, eco, and cultural tourism offerings, focusing on responsible tourism. Karnataka, with heritage sites in Mysore and Hampi, business visitors in Bengaluru, and ecotourism in Coorg, has immense untapped potential. Meanwhile, Puducherry's heritage tourism and Andhra Pradesh spiritual tourism in Tirupati continue to attract millions of visitors. Chennai and Bengaluru ranked 4th and 5th in India for foreign tourist arrivals in 2024. A major strength of South India is its demographic workforce advantage. The region boasts a skilled workforce of over 150 million people, with literacy exceeding 75%, with some states already having literacy above 80%. Kerala leads the nation with 96.2% literacy, while Tamil Nadu, we have the largest participation of women in the workforce in the country at 42%. I think that shows how inclusive Tamil Nadu is as a society, and all credit to all the companies, the employees, and the organizations. This is a talent pool for global investors, particularly in IT, biotech, and deep sectors. Urbanization is another advantage for us. Tamil Nadu is set to become one of India's most urbanized states, 60% by 2036, while Kerala is projected to achieve 96.4% urbanization by 2036, becoming the most urbanized state in the country. But I would like to add a word which should be borne in mind. Our demographic dividend will decrease by the time we go to 2100. As a matter of fact, the population of this country, which is close to 1.4 to 1.5 billion, will reduce to about 1 billion people. And a demographic advantage, there might have been slides in the background. We have the youngest population. We are going to be a much older society. If we need to do something, we should do it in the next 20 years. The time is now, and I see a lot of young faces. It is your time to create the future. We can try to help and guide you, but the future is all yours. This is the moment to act. By 2047, South can contribute 40% of India's GDP, becoming a key pillar of the country's economic dominance. However, this requires collaboration across industries, academia, and policymakers. We must leverage our strengths in manufacturing, technology, and sustainability to build a globally competitive, innovation-driven economy. As Master Yoda once said, do or do not, there is no try, which I think simply means keep trying till you succeed. This wisdom reminds us that commitment, determination, and decisive action are keys to success. True progress is achieved not by mere attempts, but by unwavering dedication and powerful execution. The path to a $10 trillion economy is before us, and the force is strong with South India. It is time to take bold strides, unlock new opportunities, and shape the economic future of this region. Together, let us ensure that South India not only meets but exceeds its potential, driving India's journey towards becoming a global powerhouse economically and socially by 2047. May prosperity, innovation, and sustainability be with us. Over the next 2 days, Mystic South 25 will serve as a launchpad for ideas, collaboration, and bold initiatives that will define South India's journey ahead. We will engage with over 100 visionary leaders, policymakers, industry trailblazers, as they explore a plethora of topics including AI-powered manufacturing, semiconductor advancements, sustainable infrastructure, future mobility solutions, digital healthcare, and many more. It's my pleasure to extend a warm welcome to our international delegations. We deeply honor your presence. We have friends from Africa, Australia, Germany, Malaysia, Singapore, South Korea, Sri Lanka. And if I've left out a few, do forgive me. Thank you all for being here. I know we have a Dutch presence also here. We have Indonesia here. We have Canadian friends here. We have a lot of people from across the world. Thank you for being here. You're all here to forge new partnerships, driving investments and collaborations in a wide array of sectors, and we welcome your presence. From cutting-edge AI to ancient cultural heritage, this summit will celebrate the unique fusion of tradition and technology that defines South India. As we embark on this journey, let us harness a collective wisdom, embrace the opportunities ahead, shape a future that is bold, innovative, and sustainable. The next few days are not just about discussion. They are about charting a course towards an economic destiny that is ours to create. May the force be with you for today and forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, sir, for sharing your expertise and wisdom. It's greatly valued. Thank you so very much. We are now honored to invite Mr. Lakshmi Narayanan to deliver the special address. Let's invite him with a big round of applause.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and let me add my welcome to all of you. For people on the dais, Dr. Nandini, Chairperson of the Southern Region of CII, and more importantly, the Director of the Leading Light of Cognizant Foundation, Dr. Mukundan, Ashok, Jayesh, and the rest of the people who are here. A special shout out to Mr. Kumar, who is here to see how I'm going to do here this morning. Thank you very much. And thank you to the organizers for inviting me. This is a conference where innovators, educators, investors, and philanthropists have all come together. One of the topics, the 6 pillars that Ashok talked about, industry pillars or the industry verticals, are the areas where the most amount of R&D spend is happening, which automatically means these are high growth areas. Dr. Nandini referred to education and skills as one of the basic infrastructure that's required. And that's the topic that I'm going to talk about because it's an horizontal that covers all the verticals. So at this point, I do want to remind C.K. Prahalad's inspiring vision for India, which he gave to CII by outlining a path towards economic strength, technological vitality, and moral leadership, which continues to remain work in progress and will remain so for our and the next generation to pursue. We live in a time of technological marvels As economist Eric Johnson said in his book, The Second Machine Age, we have recently hit an inflection point in which our machines have reached their full force to transform the world as comprehensively as James Watt's engine transformed an economy that once trundled along on ox carts. The evidence for this inflection point is everywhere, including in education, which will be the focus of my talk. The question, what would we do when machines do everything, remains unanswered in the minds of most people. The whole debate about the future of work has been about jobs and what's the right education and skills for those jobs that are yet to be created. Many people think that the new technologies, particularly the digital and AI, could be seriously disruptive, whereas at the other end of the spectrum, there are many who take comfort in the past evidence that as new technologies emerge, unmature new jobs emerge, and the transition has not been so tumultuous. But a common thread among those debates is around people, the human sense of future of work, and how to make the best of people and develop their creative skills and curiosity to create and navigate in periods of these tectonic shifts. Knowledge, data, information, insights in various forms are readily available, almost freely to every citizen of the world. Thanks to innovation, open source, and collaboration, we pretty much have all the answers for the questions that we have asked. A Google search or a ChatGPT is waiting to distill answers for us to learn. But the challenge facing humanity is not the answers that are available, but the questions that we haven't asked. The questions for which there are no answers today, and the solutions to grand challenges that we continue to face. It is the curious mind that's going to ask these questions, and those curious minds that will find the answers through research, through examples of history, and through collaborative work using technology. More than ever before, the capacities that equip people to succeed professionally are the same as virtues espoused by Cardinal Newman in his tribute to liberal knowledge, namely an agile mind, refinement of thought, and facility of expression. By appropriating our routine work, machines will offer human beings a chance of liberation from drudgery, freeing us for more creative employment. As Joseph Aoun, the president of Northeastern University, so tellingly remarks in his recently published book, a very interesting book about robot-proofing our lives. President Aoun lays out the framework for a new curriculum, calls it Humanics, which build on our innate strengths and prepare students to compete in a world in which smart machines work alongside human professionals. Focusing on technology literacy, data literacy, and human literacy skillfully and with great agility, he proposes a distinct way to educate the next generation of learners to invent, to be curious, to create, and to discover, and also to fill needs in society that even the most sophisticated artificial intelligence cannot. The narrative around the current generation of skills and jobs is drawn from history, data, and historic data. The creativity of human intellect and problem solving has a great many examples. That's the basic foundation on which grand challenges are talked about in our times. Original historical analysis are based on unique human experiences in the present that shape research questions about the past. Using human experience, a human challenge to drive research is something that AI can never do, not now, not in the future. Proponents of this idea quote rich examples from the past, a few of which are worthwhile noting. I do want to recall one of the giants of industry here in Chennai, Mr. Suresh Krishna, who grew CII during his days, a manufacturing giant and the founder of Sundaram Fasteners, a non-engineer but a great innovator. he would talk about his business as the business of metal bashing, the business of nuts and bolts, which was invented during the pre-Christian era and remains relevant even today. The story of the common safety pin, which was patented in 1850, has remained exactly the same after more than 170 years. The Velcro fasteners, I'm just talking about the fasteners industry because that occurred to me because of Mr. Suresh Krishna's name. The Velcro fasteners are the result of human ingenuity that stands as a proud example of biomimicry. And there are innumerable examples, inventions that are centuries old that have stood the test of time. The umbrella, more than 1,000 years old, the bottle opener, the scissors, the spectacles, you can go on and on. The O-rings, the famous and the infamous O-ring that brought down the Challenger space shuttle. These were great problem-solving inventions celebrated then for making life easier based on the science, arts, and research, knowledge, and data of those days. Think about vaccines, antibiotics, X-rays, and windmills, and so on. We take all of them for granted today. People perhaps discuss the consequences of such innovations and their impact on society, just as the way we are debating them today. But today's world and the context is a little different. In our view, or in my view, it is a lot more unpredictable. And think about the cell phones and desktops and laptops of modern day, their evolution and their purpose and their repurpose. The discourse today is completely different, much more positive. Like we take granted for the day-to-day tools and products of the past centuries, will the next generation invent new tools and products and services that will make our current day products mere safety pins and scissors of the new world? In all areas of these, there are grand challenges. Scale is orders of magnitude higher. One example, somewhat relevant today and in the next couple of days, when the government of India announced private participation in nuclear power generation, large industry houses jumped in with setting up power reactors in huge numbers, totaling much more than what we have and what is in the works. About 50 BSRs, or the Bharat small reactors. These are clear indications of a positive outlook, the magnitude of the problems that remain unsolved, the aspirations of the people for better life and livelihood, and therefore, the industry academia's response to meet these challenges. Can I simulate the future? Can I model one perspective of a new product? Can I produce alternatives for resource-hungry items of today? Viral Shah, the founder of Julia language and platform, many of the industry people would be familiar with Julia language, with a team of MIT professionals, was here recently for an AI summit. They are, in addition to inventing that language that's used in manufacturing processes, are working on simulators, systems modeling platform that combines plant modeling, controls, and embedded software development into a single product. These capabilities of Julia Sim has allowed NASA to run their simulations 15,000 times faster. Instron to simplify the design of safety testing catapults for the automotive industry. Boeing to build satellites, guidance, navigation, and communication satellites in 1 year instead of 5 years. And Williams F1 to replace hardware sensors with digital twins. Designed as both GUI and simple code base, Julia Sims brings social scientists, humanists, engineers, and software developers together onto a single platform, simplifying and accelerating the design and validation process. In education, as we begin to explore this, AI has now permeated pedagogy and is proving a potent weapon in the framework of universal design learning, propelling students to enhance higher-level thinking while affirming foundational skills. Machine learning encompasses a set of powerful, innovative tools for learning and training, powered by self-improving algorithms that process data, patterns, key metrics, and variables. These innovations are greatly assisting various sectors in education, helping students with self-paced assimilation of knowledge alongside a collaborative virtual ecosystem. The advent of AI has, however, received both accolades and disdainful rejections. While many agree that it has made commonly used mediums easier, more effective and intuitive, others believe that assistive technology has taken us away from deep learning. This mirrors the era that witnessed the onset of the internet, when an entire generation worried if their sons and daughters were replacing their own thinking skills with external assistance. The story repeats with the explosive advent of AI. This conversation is especially pertinent to newer ways of learning, like interwoven learning in liberal arts institutions. New universities have built their reputation by training students to think critically. More than mere exposure to content in various humanities and science disciplines, liberal arts education is designed to equip students with broadly applicable skills, including writing and arguing persuasively. While computer science skills offered in the technical skills to code, the study of English allowed researchers to understand how language develops over time. The LLMs and the code generations are examples of the progress that we have made there. The University of Chicago also brought together scholars from the field of technology and law to discuss how widespread adoption of AI could affect human rights and democracy. These kinds of interdisciplinary frameworks will become more important as we deal with new and complex challenges every day. It will also help us make AI models more just. Recent waves of tech job layoffs in the United States have shown a purely technical degree in computer science does not ensure job security. Several industries are digitizing to take advantage of AI, reduce tech labor, and put new systems in place. The development of new systems requires some coding, but after systems are in place, individuals with a background in creative writing and language seek to gain the most. Dr. Linda Shah, a business psychologist, suggests that workers with higher emotional intelligence were more likely to become the CEOs of the future AI-focused business landscape. And the AI chief of the top company, IBM, advised people who want a tech job to learn language and creative thinking and associated liberal arts skills. I'll give you one more example before I conclude. IIT Madras Pravartak, some of you may be familiar with that. That's a digital learning, skilling, and upskilling resource center that can help students, professionals, managers, and leaders in their journey of continuous learning, providing them micro-credentials in areas of immediate interest with researched inputs and learning to significantly augment textbook-based teaching alone. The fundamental paradigm there is textbook-based teaching should be augmented with faculty's research-based teaching. Pravartak has collaborated with industry leaders to bring their expertise packaged into bite-sized courses that meet the rules of stackability, enabling degrees to be earned. For example, design planning and construction of metro rail system, piping design and flexibility analysis, electrofluid systems and smart factory automation are some of the courses from L&T EduTech which are available in a very, very comprehensive manner as part of the Pravartak platform. True democratization of knowledge is here and now. Open source and open innovation and some of the organized grant challenges have enabled knowledge gathering, innovative thinking, and applications. I earlier referred to humanics, the 3 key skills that are required. Education needs to change dramatically if workers are to adopt to this new environment. Capability, a technical capability based, this is based on the 3 pillars that I referred earlier. Technical ability, understanding how machines function and how to interact with them, as both AI and robotics become ever more capable. Machines will step into roles once monopolized by humans. Some employees won't last, but others will find themselves working with machines and probably being vastly more productive as a result. Data discipline. Navigating the sea of information that's generated both by humans as well as these machines. Workers will need data literacy to read, to analyze, to use the almost bottomless troves of information that are increasingly guiding everything from major business decisions to stock picks. And finally, the human discipline, which is what we humans can do that machines for the foreseeable future cannot emulate. Aoun says this includes creativity, cultural ability, curiosity, empathy, and the ability to take information from one context and apply it to another. In educational terms, this means less emphasis on the classroom and a greater emphasis on experiential learning. Humanics is equally applicable to working professionals, to all of us, as much as it is to students. Such building blocks for future knowledge creation through research, problem solving through evidence-based and data-driven solutions and multidimensional applications are here to stay. Human skills of curiosity, communication, etc. will enable each of us to be more productive, more sharing, less cynical, and great creators of the future. India is a large source of talent for the world. We have demonstrated ability to produce global leaders for MNCs, leaders in academic institutions of repute, leaders in research across global universities. Welcome to the new journey. If we have to remain so and be the higher-end talent for the world, as routine jobs are done by machines, we need to develop a curious and creative mind and the intellect and ask questions that have not been asked before. Welcome to the new journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We sincerely appreciate you for gracing us with your presence today. May I have the privilege to call upon Mr. R. Mukhandan to deliver the inaugural address, please. Welcome, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, please extend your applause and welcome Mr. Mukhandan.
Good morning. Chennai, they are usually much louder than this. Good morning. Very good. Firstly, let me thank our TT Ashok for inviting me when he called me a few months ago. He's someone I've never said no. When he was the MSME chairman also, whatever he said, I said, I'll come and do it. So this time I said, I will do it, whatever it may be. So thank you so much. It's such a delightful occasion, especially since I'm again meeting two of our past presidents, Mr. N. Kumar and also Dinesh. It's a matter of chance. So thank you for being with us, gracing the occasion. Mr. Lakshmi Narayan, thank you for your words of how to develop the human capital, and I think it's very important. And Nandini, as usual, a wonderful show you put up here. And thank you all for coming here, ladies and gentlemen. And really, let me start with an apology for being late. I know for one, within CII, two regions you cannot be late, South and West. You cannot be late, you have to be on time. I sort of was delayed by 5 minutes, and my sincere apologies for that. Also, let me take this occasion to welcome our Chief Economic Advisor, Mr. Anant Nageshwaran. I must say that I was on TV and I mentioned that I have read every economic survey from the time I left MBA, and this was the one which I read cover to cover. It was actually lucid, with full of examples, and actually laid the foundation for our budget as we moved forward. I'm sure you have a lot of charts to sort of share with us. Thank you so much. I just want to take a moment while I think Ashok, TT Ashok has really highlighted the journeys Mystic South India has to follow. I think what India has to follow. I just thought where CII is coming from when we started the year and where we are heading to, also in the context of the budget and what CII wants to do. I don't want to dwell into specifically on South, So when we started the year, actually, we were having three broad issues in our mind because jobs, employment was really at the top of the mind at that time, if you look at within priorities within CII for the current year, because it lays the foundation. The flip side of that was skills. And the two big sectors we wanted to focus was MSME and exports. Fundamentally, these are the biggest job creators, and we said we should focus. And the other thrust we did was, if we have to get exports going, we need to ensure that trade facilitation, that international trade gets a much more center stage. Also, ease of doing business. Of course, there's a foundation which will continue for next 20, 30 years, which is sustainability, and digital and AI. These two will remain the foundation, I'm not going to get into details of that. But as we went through the year, I think what came out really in the budget through our recommendations have been that consumption is very critical. I must thank the government for actually making sure that consumption engine is actually kick-started. At the same time, I think the focus on jobs has continued, because if you look at the sectors, most of the budget was focused on was on MSME and exports, really rightly so. And the third thing they've done very clearly, because India is at a very critical path, we are at the juncture of getting a credit re-rating or whatever. I think fiscal glide path has to be adhered to. I think compliments to government for having aligned that in the short term. Having said that, I think the key shift which I see, which is what is going to propel us going forward to 2047, I'm coming to the link to this Mystic South piece, is that there was a shift in the budget saying that the gap for the infrastructure is going to come from public-private partnership. Now, when you need public-private partnership, one key element of that is trust. And this budget, actually, the word trust, if I counted last, was used 10 times. So I think it is a big shift, and that's why the whole point about ease of doing business. And I think that's really the way we should be working towards going forward in this, in our journey going forward. Now, obviously, we have a very ambitious target. If South is going to be 10 trillion, I think India has to be 30 trillion. So hopefully our chief economic advisor will have a plan for India to 30 trillion. But really, there is an opportunity for South to power away. And if I look at where South India is there, for example, Tamil Nadu, the per capita GDP is already at Vietnam. And if we go to 10x the time, we're talking about 40,000 per capita GDP, per capita income here. So it's really propelling the South and parts of South to not just middle, but really upper middle and income parts, which is what really Viksit Bharat is about. But for doing that, I think there are 3-4 things which are key drivers of that change, and much of that has come from Ashok's presentation already. And if I just sort of go through what are the sectors which actually South really needs to push forward, and I think CII is pretty much linked into that. The first one, of course, manufacturing will be a big driver of growth in South. And whether we talk about where large investments are happening, semiconductor, electronics, or EV, I think those are all the key sectors which I think South is forging ahead. And we should continue to provide momentum on the basis of human capital, design capability. What started here was a design, but now we are getting on to the delivery capabilities. Also, the other thing which South has is a whole issue of whole point about renewable energy and green industrialization, very, very important. Actually, this is one part of India which is also going to be most impacted by climate change because of the coastline is long and sea waters will rise. And creating that adaptation and switching to green is going to be very, very critical. Some of the work we do as a company in South is actually on, making sure our coastline is much more robust than what it is today, and a lot more needs to be done. Our coastlines are eroding, and not many people really and industry needs to pay attention. South has been very clearly a startup and innovation hub, and we should continue in that direction. But if we take a leap forward, I think the key issue which came out here has been two pieces in the sections which Ashok as well as Lakshmi spoke about. One was on further push in manufacturing, how do we create corridors? And also this whole point about future of AI, quantum computing, I think these all will play certainly a big role. Now, enablers for CII, what we have identified, are fundamentally we are going to be working with government on infrastructure development even more. if you ask me a question today, for example, we are doing about 100 billion of the electronic export. It has to go to 300 billion. And what is really holding it back in the immediate term actually is not the capability to put machines on the ground, but actually is the infrastructure to put more aircrafts through the two airports, basically Chennai and Hyderabad airport. And the whole point about how do we increase the capacity of these airports to handle the cargo, I think the big issue. So in fact, one of the things which you spoke, which you would have heard in the budget, is a very specific focus on civil aviation and cargo movement. I think we need to focus on that. We need to focus on the port movement because that's critical. So we are talking about industrial corridor coupled with connectivity. I think extremely important. Some of the metrics we are now measuring very clearly within CII. For example, it used to take 35 hours gate to gate in Chennai airport. I must tell you, they've done an incredible job. It now takes 3 hours. It's an incredible journey. I mean, they deserve a round of applause, the airport authority, for what they've done. So there are multiple examples like this. And the second thing, when we had a big debate with our MSME, one of the things they keep saying is the job, people are not there, we have got jobs. The corollary of that is that if you don't provide accommodation, dormitories for people to come and stay, they can't save. If they can't save, they're going to go away. So really, the smart city industrial zones with housing there for people is going to be very critical. I'll add a layer in the next section what we need to do. The skilled workforce piece, actually we speak a lot about skill and education, but we forget healthcare, other social infrastructure. I think we need to think a little differently and start to design. I think the Tamil Nadu Industrial Department actually has done a lot of work, positive work. The same work needs to spread to other 3 states if they were to move up the direction. And within that, I think there's also a need to collaborate with universities, all the institutions which we've spoken about. In terms of sustainable, we have to make this sustainable industrialization here very, very much so. And the focus on solar, green hydrogen, all these are very critical for South to sort of move ahead. Lastly, I think this is a great opportunity with the vast coastline. This can be the hub of international trade. If you look at the corridor of international trade, it actually passes right at the bottom of South India. And if you can capture that and sort of build on it, it's going to be a great direction forward. So the vision is clear, the direction is clear, then what is the role of CII? I'll just come to that. We have certainly focused on making sure we continue with our policy advocacy. We continue to focus on highlighting the importance of digital and industry transformation. Also on infrastructure development in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, a lot more to be done, and skill development, and fundamentally looking at global trade expansion. And bringing in real focus on the industries of future. Not forgetting about industry, but also industries of future. CII has actually set up a large amount of centers of excellence in South. It's a big opportunity for everyone here who's assembled to sort of utilize it. See, I'm sounding like an sales marketing guy for CII, but I've been born a salesman, so I get into that role immediately, comes naturally to me. But I must tell you that CII does a lot of work in addition to on the ground in making sure our companies are capable. One in Chennai is the CII Institute of Logistics, which we have used as a company. It's been, one of the bottleneck India has is to get our energy costs down for every product, as well as the cost of logistics down. I think this institute does a lot of yeoman work in that area. We have a green business center in Hyderabad. I suggest if you have not visited, please do visit. They've got terrific talent and approach, including in terms of grading the green products. And Mr. N. Kumar is here. He spearheaded the movement along with Suresh Krishna and others in quality, and I think he was the one who sort of headed the Institute of Quality in Bangalore, which really helps the Indian industry go to the next level of business excellence. Many of the companies here have actually used their services. When you talk about TPM, TQM, all the movements which Chennai has seen, a lot of that work has happened through the councillors from there. Then more recently, I think Mr. Dinesh is here, I cannot forget but say about the whole Center for Livelihood and Employment in Madurai, again, which is going to focus on livelihood. It's our newest center, and I think it's going to do a lot of work, including on skilling and making sure there are jobs and the people have livelihood and they can move forward. I don't want to forget that in terms of innovation and startup, we have got a tea hub in Hyderabad. Do visit that. I visited it. It's like huge energy. You can see the power of energy and people. And it's run by, actually, the one who's spearheading is Chris Gopalakrishnan of Infosys. Again, a great center for us. So all in all, I think CII is fully committed to delivering again what Ashok has already put as a target, 10 trillion. We will work on that to support the journey of South. Also, to support the journey of entire India as it goes towards Viksit Bharat. Thank you all for being here, and the deliberations of this conference, we will certainly take it in our policy as well as recommendations to work with the government. Thank you for your support, and have a great sessions forward.
Thank you, sir. It was an incredible opportunity to listen from a leader of your stature. Thank you. A general round of applause for Mr. R. Mohandan. CII Southern Region is releasing a report. 2047 Southern Odyssey, powering ahead to a $10 trillion economy. Ladies and gentlemen, let us please hand over the report to Mr. R. Mohandan for a formal release, please. I would request Mr. Mohandan to kindly hand over the copies to the other esteemed speakers. Thank you so very much, and as we mark the end of this closing session, I would like to invite Dr. Nandini for the closing remarks, please. Welcome, madam.
Thank you. Due to paucity of time, I'm just doing the closing remarks from here, from my seat. So thank you, Ashok, for...
May I now take in the privilege to call upon Mr. R. Dinesh, who is chairing this session on South India's global economic competitiveness, to deliver the welcome remarks and take over the session, please. Warm welcome to you, sir.
Good morning, everybody. A pleasure to be here to welcome the Chief Economic Advisor, Dr. Ananta Nageshwaran. And Anand, thank you for gracing this occasion, being here with us. He is someone who needs no introduction, especially in Chennai. But having said that, I have to say that his surveys, as was mentioned by the Vice President of CII, have actually been the most thought-provoking ones which all of us have read. So very glad that you have chosen the opportunity to share with us your views and being here with us. Of course, welcome my colleagues, Mr. Mohan Reddy and Narayan Sitharaman, both of whom again need no introduction to the South and to here. I don't want to take too much time. We are all here to listen to the CEA. So the only one comment I will make is that all of you heard about all the benefit which South has got, both from the manufacturing perspective, the technology perspective, the people perspective. But the one final comment I would add is also we have the natural benefit of having the largest coastline compared with even most parts of the world. So I think there is an inherent advantage which nature has also provided the South as compared with the other parts of the world. So in that background, I think let us straight away get into hearing the CEA, and then we'll have a panel discussion between ourselves. You would have seen the schedule talking about opening comments, etc. I think in the context of time and the ability to listen to all the speakers, we will change, with your permission, to a different format of making it more interactive. With that, can I now welcome and request Mr. Dr. Ananta Nageshwaran to give his comments, please.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Dinesh, for those kind words of introduction. My fellow panelists on the dais, Mr. Mukundan, Ms. Lakshmi Narayan, other dignitaries from the industry, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure, privilege, and an honor to be here with you and to share my thoughts on what I would call not just the mystic South, but also the majestic South. For not just for 2047, but even now. It is playing a very important role in driving the economic growth and prosperity of the entire nation, as you will see in some of the data that I'm going to share with you. Therefore, it would have been quite appropriate not to package the South in mystery and mysticism only, but also in some majesticity for this occasion. So, what you see here is obviously this theme of this two-day event, especially this plenary session, is about the competitiveness of the South in the global context, which I think is appropriate because it is about time that the South benchmarks itself against the world, not just India, because within India, the South is leading on many of the parameters that we would like to see the South leading. So therefore, it is good that they are setting their sights much wider and much farther. So competitiveness, as you can see here, and it is something that would vary from the perspective of the audience, but in general, it's about the ability to achieve a high standard of living, because ultimately all economic pursuits are about better livelihoods and better lives for citizens. To achieve specific economic outcomes like employment generation, foreign direct investment or exports, but usually competitiveness is said in the context of exports, but I would say the ultimate goal is whether it is exports or domestic productions or investment, it's about delivering a better standard of life to the people. And the person who is very famously associated with the notion of competitiveness is Professor Michael Porter, and he distinctly focuses on created prosperity and use of productivity. Labor in Telangana, the services share therefore goes to Telangana rather than to Andhra Pradesh. Therefore, the scope to develop the coastal districts of Andhra, etc., into bigger industrial clusters and also exporting clusters is much higher now with this new reorganization of the state. And the share of services in southern state over the years, you can see that the services share has been rising as a share of the gross value added. Kerala, Telangana, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. In fact, you can see that Andhra Pradesh again is on the lower side in terms of growth rates, and Tamil Nadu exactly is on the lower side with respect to services growth, but as a share of gross value added, Tamil Nadu is also in par with many other southern states as well. In terms of regional variations, share of the state's gross value added in manufacturing in total GVA across the country, Puducherry, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala have a much higher GVA share compared to the overall in terms of the growth rates, and the manufacturing GVA share of the country, Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, and to some extent Karnataka are above the national average. And as you would expect, Gujarat has a much higher share of the nation's manufacturing GVA, gross value added. Manufacturing sector at a glance, total number of factories, factories in operation, and the fixed capital in manufacturing in the country, it is much higher than what you would expect for southern states. 37.4% in terms of total number of factories, 37% for factories in operation, 25.6% in fixed capital investment as in the overall country. And manufacturing sector reveals indicators, of course, with scope for improvement, because if you look at the total number of persons engaged, it is 33%. But in terms of output share, it's only about 26%. So that kind of tells you that there is scope for improvement in productivity, because naturally you have a much higher share of the workforce compared to the share of output. So there is a room for improvement there in terms of productivity, and the same thing grows for gross value added as well. So between the first bar on the left and the next two bar information, you can see the scope for improvement in terms of labor productivity in manufacturing in southern India. And in terms of clusters as important drivers of competitiveness, you can see here that there are several sectors that have emerged. In Tamil Nadu, you have the footwear cluster near Ambur districts. You have MSME clusters, the IT sector in Bangalore, Chennai, and Hyderabad. So clusters have emerged, and they create their own ecosystem. It's very important, therefore, speaking of MSMEs, that we provide scope for growth of clusters, and that is a good alternative to having large scale-based enterprises. Clusters can mimic the advantage of scale-based industries, and it is good to see Southern India playing a good role in developing manufacturing clusters. Clusters overview for Andhra Pradesh. As you can see here, there are many sectors in which Andhra has clusters. On the left axis, on the vertical axis, you see the average wages, and on the right axis, the number of workers. So obviously, the workforce is relatively smaller, less than 1 million, but the average wages is much higher in lighting and electrical equipment cluster when it comes to Andhra. When it comes to Karnataka, as you would expect, information technology and aerospace have much higher wages. Higher the wages, higher the value added in that sector. And when it comes to Kerala, naturally, it is about electric power generation and transmission, metal mining, but everything else is much lower in terms of the potential, and therefore you can see that the scope for industrialization is still very much higher rather than what it is present. And when it comes to Puducherry, information technology, education and knowledge creation are occupying the dominant forces with respect to cluster development in Puducherry. And for Tamil Nadu, as you can see here, trailers, motorhomes, oil and gas production, information technology, water transportation, which is both an interesting aspect of Tamil Nadu in terms of cluster development, because it also indicates the importance of water stress management when it comes to Tamil Nadu. And the cluster overview for Telangana, again, production technology, heavy machinery, information technology and financial services are very important in terms of the services and manufacturing cluster in Telangana. Naturally, because of the dominant presence of Hyderabad, you have information technology and financial services dominating. Now I come to having spent the last 10-12 minutes sharing with you the state of play with respect to southern states in different aspects of manufacturing and services. Now we get into the more interesting part of the presentation. Southern states have very high skill levels compared to rest of India. And skill levels 1, 2, 3, 4, basically skill levels 1 is very basic, 2 is the next level, 3 is associate professional skills, and 4 is very high order professional skills like medicine, engineering, geology, etc. Now, the good thing is Tamil Nadu and southern region in general have a very high levels of skill too, which is definitely more than basic. But if you look at the skill levels 3 and 4, we still have a lot of room to catch up. In other words, if 21st century is going to be about high value added manufacturing, and Mr. Lakshmi Narayan spoke about how artificial intelligence is now spoken about in the same breath as internet was spoken about 30 years ago, then the need to develop skill 3 and skill 4, and that is where academia-industry collaboration has to be much greater than what it has been so far. Southern states as well have a lot of room to catch up here compared to its own record. But compared to the rest of the country, southern states are doing better. And in look at investment hubs, southern states command a 30% share of FDI since October 2019. It's a very good track record for southern states compared to rest of the country. And in terms of export profile, you can see that southern states' percentage share in India's exports, Tamil Nadu has a very high share between both manufacturing and services. Karnataka, being predominantly services-oriented, has a 6% share. And you can see the important clusters in different parts of southern India. So you have in Bangalore, Kanchipuram, which is obviously basically extension of Chennai, Visakhapatnam, Dakshin Kannada, and Cochin Port, etc. These are all the export profile. When it comes to R&D, which is one of the important issues I covered in the economic survey, the contribution of southern states is about 28%, and yet less than 0.8% of their state domestic product. In other words, the country as a whole is lagging behind in research and development, and southern states are no exception. And this is where I would, since this is an audience of private sector industrialists and so on, it is very important to view R&D as an investment and not as an expenditure. And that requires changing one's horizons of looking at research and development. And in fact, if you look at the economic survey, you will notice, and I will show you the next slide as well, academic contribution to R&D in India is also much lower than it is for several other countries. Probably that slide is not here, but it is there in the economic survey. Reflections on social progress index performance of southern states. If you look at basic human needs, foundations of well-being and opportunity, southern states are doing quite well. If you look at the green color, it just shows a much higher level of achievement. In terms of very high social progress, you can see Tamil Nadu and Kerala, and of course, right up there, Delhi. So in terms of social progress as well, which is what I said at the very beginning, competitiveness means not just economic progress, but also social progress, and southern states are doing a good job so far. And as you all know well, prosperity and social progress do go together. And with respect to per capita GDP, and social progress, you can see southern states, Puducherry, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Telangana are all well above the median level. So far, the story is one of satisfaction. That is why I said it is good that southern India is now looking to benchmark itself against the world, because in terms of comparison with the rest of India, as you have seen in the last 20 minutes or so, southern states have done much, much better. Let me go back. So, yeah. I will be remiss if I don't use this opportunity as to what the private sector can do. And again, in the economic survey, I have spent a lot of time speaking about not only boosting competitiveness, because nation building is about competitiveness, and these are the key asks I have said, because in many of the forums that I go to, I always receive a lot of information and requests as to what the government can and should do for the private sector. I get a very few opportunity to speak about what I can ask of the private sector, and therefore I'm not going to miss that opportunity. So if you look at balanced deployment of capital and labor, Mr. Lakshmi Narayan spoke about the importance of artificial intelligence and its implications for thinking and cognitive abilities of humans. But you see, how many of you know who is the father of industrial revolution? I'll give you a hint. It is not a human. Anybody? No. I said industrial revolution in the world, not just in India or in Tamil Nadu. Steam engine. Steam engine? Anybody else? Huh? The Black Death, plague, which means the rats. The rats are the parents of industrial revolution in the world. But for the Black Death, average wage of real wages of workers would not have increased, necessitating a substitution into capital, and scale industrialization-based development wouldn't have happened but for the Black Death, because Black Death removed able-bodied men in huge numbers in Europe and UK and so on, tilting the balance between labor and capital, making capital deployment cheaper compared to labor deployment. So, industrial revolution happened as a consequence of shortage of labor, and that is a model that we have all imported in the rest of the world, even in labor surplus countries like ours. If you read economic historian Peter Temine of MIT, he says, basically industrialization happened as a consequence of high real wages of labor and cheap energy. And that is where we have to keep in mind, when we pursue energy transition, we cannot sacrifice the goal of affordable energy. Cheap energy is the foundation on which European and North American industrial revolution happened. And as things stand, renewable energy isn't cost efficient for industrialization and for catch up on prosperity. That is why this budget has given the importance to nuclear energy and opening up to the private sector. So when we talk of progress into intermittent energy like wind and solar, this year in the winter, December and January, Germany has recommenced coal-based power generation like never before, because wind has been mostly absent throughout December and January in Germany. So I think we need to be very mindful about the trade-offs when we pursue renewable energy. Similarly, in a labor surplus country, we need to be mindful about the deployment of capital and labor, because ultimately it is about social stability. As Henry Ford said, if I don't pay living wages to my workers, who will buy the cars I produce? So it is important, therefore, in the last 4 years post-pandemic, the private sector has had a huge pickup in profitability, and correspondingly, we need to also keep in mind the importance of hiring and wage growth, if only for the demand visibility that the private sector itself needs for it to be able to sell more. In fact, the purpose of the tax cut is not just only to put more disposable income in the hands of the households, which is obviously the primary purpose, but putting more disposable income in the hands of households means either greater savings of households or greater demand, which in turn should let the private sector take over the mantle of capital formation from the government, which the government has been driving for the last 4 to 5 years, just starting before pre-COVID as well. So my asks of the private sector would be better balance between capital deployment and labor employment, understanding the medium-term consequences of profitability versus wage growth, and also with respect to workplace culture and the implications for mental health, which we cover in great detail in the economic survey, and also, more importantly, ultra-processed foods and stepping up R&D investments. This is a slide I was referring to earlier, but it comes here. If you look at the contribution of academia to R&D in India, it's on the lower side compared to several other countries. So the collaboration between academia and the private sector with a long-term strategic competitiveness enhancement in mind has to happen, and it is an agenda for the future for the South, especially given that South is a pioneer in many aspects. And ultra-processed foods, there is no demographic dividend in the country if the Indian youth are not going to be physically and mentally healthy. And if you watch any cricket match, you can see the kind of ads you get for ultra-processed foods. And so watching TV, consuming ultra-processed foods, and during the commercial breaks, looking at your screens is not the best way of demographic dividend. Okay, is not the best way to reap demographic dividend. So I think there is a collective responsibility on the part of the consuming public and the producing industry to be mindful of the medium-term to long-term consequences of ultra-processed foods in the country, and India is therefore sitting on a silent epidemic with respect to the physical and mental health of Indian youth. And focus on workplace culture. 4 variables have been identified empirically, and Ms. Lakshmi Narayan should know because this is done by the Sapien Labs, which is part of Kriya University. Low physical activity, low connect with people, family and relatives, low connect with local language, screen time, consumption of ultra-processed foods, all these things bring down mental health. And workplace culture also plays a very big role in keeping workers mentally healthy and therefore economically productive. So if we have to become globally competitive and reach $10 trillion contribution from Southern India alone for India's national GDP, while we talk about infrastructure, R&D, skilling, these aspects do not get the pride of place as they should. And that is why in the last 2 economic surveys, we have given a lot of importance to mental health aspects, because without mentally stable and healthy citizens, they cannot be economically productive, and also you cannot have social stability as well over the medium term. And all of this spill over into competitiveness. They are the foundational pillars of competitiveness. So thank you very much for this opportunity. The South is well poised to lead India into a mystic and majestic Viksit Bharat. And I wish these 2 days of deliberations all success, leading to some fruitful and tangible action in terms of the material, social, and spiritual goals that the country is pursuing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for not only just giving, sharing so much relevant information, but also making it in a manner which I think wakes everyone up to face the reality for us and for the future. So with that, I think I'll now request Mohan to kickstart with his opening comment.
Statistics that we all have to learn from what's happening in the country in various sectors. I come from services background. I come from information technology background. My senior colleagues, Mr. Lakshmi Narayanan, Mr. R. Chandrasekharan, both of them are here. So let me comment on what I think is happening in this sector for India, for South India. It's a very unbelievable story. In 2005, the IT services from India, or the IT industry, was just 1% of GDP. Fast forward 20 years, in 2024, it's about 6.8% of GDP. And also you'll see that the IT services per se is about 50% of the services exports. And if you combine the other services, they're about 70% of exports. So it's an amazing story of how transformation has happened in this country. But then let's segue into South India. How does it appear thereafter? Is this industry, which is now about $254 billion, that's for 23-24, about $200 billion of exports, $54 billion of domestic. As much as 60% of it is from South India, 60 to 65%. And largely from these three cities of Chennai, Bangalore, and Hyderabad. Interestingly, you'll further find that as much as the skilled workforce in this industry, about 45% of them across the country at this juncture comes from these 5 southern states of India. So the contribution of the southern states into IT industry, and pardon me, of the recent past, I do not call it as IT industry. It's not any longer information technology, because it was primarily when people called it information technology, they were collecting data or information to take decisions, whereas we now live in age and times where technology is taking decisions for us. I'm sure Mr. Lakshmanan talked about AI and its impact all around. So in that particular context at this juncture, what we have seen is this $200 billion of exports or $50 billion of domestic comes from about 4 or 5 subsectors. One is a pure play IT services, which is to do with system design work, programming, system integration, customization, and so on and so forth. Or the second one is the back office operations, which is called BPO. A third one is called ER&D, engineering, research, and development. Roughly, if you look at them, $100 billion to IT services, $40 billion to BPO, $40 billion to ER&D. The rest of it is $20 billion. What is the rest? And the rest is basically product. And product is not all of it. Product is probably about $4 to $5 billion at this point of time. So what are we good at this point of time is we are good in doing services, not so much so of product. But how do we see the world moving forward is more in terms of product. What's the common denominator for making sure that we have this product or services working for us is human resources. And human resources, I'll take 3 components of it. One is education and skills. The second one is R&D and innovation. And the third one is startups and entrepreneurship. I think even in South, so I can give you statistics about South too, in terms of how we are doing on education and skills at this point of time. Let's take just one example of technical education. India today has as much as about 15 lakh undergraduate seats in the country, out of which as many as about 7.5 lakhs are in these 5 states of South India. But with a caveat, no more than about 66% of these seats get enrolled every year. And then, whoever are graduating thereafter, there are no more than about other 66% of them who are employable. The others do not get employed. They get employed in different skills altogether. So therefore, one requires enormous amount of attention on education and skills associated with it, especially in the changing times. Especially in the changing times because technology is going at a pace never seen before by mankind. We see that, and this does not seem to stop at this juncture. We'll still see computers becoming faster, cheaper, smaller. We'll see the communications becoming faster, latency coming down, sensors becoming smaller and becoming much more smarter, and AI algorithms taking over all over the world, and every industry you can perceive about. So our emphasis has to be definitely on skills. Skills, education and skills. I keep saying knowledge and skills cannot be separated out. There's no Chinese wall in between. A knowledgeable guy has to become skilled thereafter. So the first recommendation I have is we need to think about getting the knowledge and skills much earlier than at the engineering college student level. It has to go back to the schooling. The second one is, which is a bigger system at this point, we have had a major event called Innovate. It's called Innovate, I guess. Yeah, Innovate, 2 versions of it gone by, primarily getting industry and academia onto the same table. We had this first version of it in Inventive itself completed to get to a prototype or a product level. What's required by the industry is to get it to the TRL 7, 8, or 9 levels. So therefore, the academy-industry collaboration is something important, money that is being spent. We have to definitely put that money in, but that money also has to go from the private sector.
To get to how did we get here? And because how we got here, some of it is important to how do we sustain this and how do we build on this. I also take in India all these years. They installed a philosophy when we're looking at recruiting colleges, the best of ITIs. I mean, you look across the spectrum of knowledge and skills, we have the best of course, we have among that 59%, there are a number of South Indian companies who've been early adopters away.
10 minutes more, so away the potential employment opportunities.
R&D, for to use that and then to
Suresh Krishnas, the MV Subbayas, they've all played their role in looking at, they realize that manufacturing would need this approach on quality improvement, continuous improvement, the greater interaction, better human relations, you name it, and they brought in industry path-breaking practices.
In the early 2000 or even early 2010, it was 400 to 500,000 jobs. Last year was down 1,000 jobs. Last year was down to about 60,000. To me, it's certainly an aberration. As we see the technology deployment going out, it's not any longer just in businesses. You'll see.
I think sharing of data with respect to the Gati Shakti is important in reducing the time taken for project completion and therefore reducing the capital cost. And more importantly, it compresses the timeline between the capital actually translating itself into output. So that is just one important aspect of compressing the timeline between investment and output generation. Because one of the things that we are going to face going forward is that capital formation in the economy, whether it is by private sector or public sector, depends on household savings to become higher than what it is today. And more importantly, given the kind of economic fragmentation we see around the world, investments coming in from the rest of the world is also going to be more challenging and difficult. So it used to be said that India could easily finance a current account deficit of 3% of GDP by importing capital from outside. But is that number still frozen or fixed, or in the current global context, should we be more conservative and accept that maybe it will be between 1 and 2% of GDP? That's a question that we have posed in the economic survey as well. So given that, it's very important that we translate investment into investment efficiency, because the scale of the quantum of investments coming in may not be as much as we would like it to be, in which case we have to improve the efficiency of investment. So to that extent, I think the data sharing and project planning and execution become very important. The other dimension, of course, once again comes down to the time taken for the various approval processes for the industry to be able to start commencement of production, which is where I feel, again, the ball is in the court of the governments, apart from data sharing. And so whether it is with environmental clearances or giving approvals, and also with respect to importing components and raw materials for conversion into export output, in those areas I still concede that there is much room for improvement in government processes in translating this investment numbers into output numbers.
Mohan Narayan, anything to add?
I'd like to just touch upon a related point, since we brought up information and information on investments. I think we also have to address insecurity and sometimes lack of information for potential customers from India. And that post-COVID, there's an insecurity on, supply chains had broken down, etc. So related to that, in terms of closeness to export customers, in terms of different channels to market, in terms of ability to, for example, a lot of companies work with companies like yours on having stock in different countries, giving them that security of supply. And again, the nearness to customers, making sure the right information is available, because there is still a lot of insecurity in terms of, and that is very important when we're looking at export and MSMEs. The export, I'm specifically referring to export here, in terms of building that up in order to achieve our Viksit Bharat goals. So that is also in terms of channels to market, and more information in time should also help towards building up the export economy.
Taking the cue from Mr. Anant Nageshwaran about GDP growth and investments, there's fairly good amount of literature that's available, backed up with some evidence, to say the global GDP will go up by about 1% or more because of AI intervention. So here is an opportunity for South India to start moving into that direction, to say how well we can deploy AI. It is not a magic wand. It requires enormous amount of effort. We talked about them. Number one, we need to do the skills part of it. Number two, we need to get into R&D. Number three, a very important part, only then we will probably be in a position to get there. South India will have the advantage, the first mover's advantage, if we can do it together. It can't be done by one stakeholder. It has to be done by all of us. Policy makers like Mr. Anant Nageshwaran, corporates like us, the education institutions, several of them have to join hands. That's a great opportunity in front of us, Dinesh.
Thank you. I think with that, we have to bring this session to a close. I think, Anand, thank you for your really valuable insights. Thank you, Mohan. Thank you, Narayan. And as always, I think we walk away with many things to do. But I think one final statement I will make is, I think whenever we have a session with the CEA, I think he makes sure that we as corporates understand that we are not pointing the finger at the government, but there is also a finger which points at us for making sure we improve and we continue to improve. Yes, that is enough. So we do take that responsibility going forward and seeing how we can make that happen. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, speakers. We extend our gratitude for the depth of knowledge you have shared with us and with clarity with which you presented it. Your expertise is greatly valued. I gently request Mr. Dinesh to please present the mementos to our speakers as a token of gratitude. I also request Mr. T.T. Ashok to present the memento to Mr. R. Dinesh. Ladies and gentlemen, before you leave, I have a briefing to please be present for the next couple of minutes, please. Requesting all of you all to please kindly stay for next 2 minutes. I have a briefing for you all, please. Requesting the same. So So please be informed that parallel sessions will be held on advanced manufacturing, engineering the future, unlocking the power of industry 4.0 for industrial excellence at Clive and Duplex Hall 2. And state session Telangana at Senate Hall 3 respectively. I repeat, parallel sessions will be held in Hall 2 and Hall 3 respectively. Interested delegates can proceed towards the floor below, ground -1 for the same. And one more information, for the lunch after the session, lunch is being provided in the respective halls itself. You do not need to come to this floor for lunch. Please kindly enjoy your lunch in Hall 2 or Hall 3, wherever you're being present respectively. Thanks for understanding. And we are proceeding with sustainability session. At the moment, we are not breaking for networking tea. So in case you would like to have one, please kindly take and come inside and we can continue with the sessions now. I repeat, we are not breaking for networking tea. So we are continuing with the next session, sustainability, in the same hall. Delegates, those who would love to be present on sustainability, please be present in this hall. Thank you. We will now begin our session on Sustainability 1, from fossil fuels to future fuels, India's Green Odyssey. Please kindly take your seats as we proceed for the introductions and discussions. Thank you for your cooperation, and let's look forward to another engaging session ahead.